Hello everybody and welcome back to another CB Show Tunes tutorial. Now today's tutorial is all based on a request that I received from one of my subscribers, and that was to recreate this game right here. Now I'm not a fan of making clone copies of games at all, so what we're going to do is we are going to be making a game very similar to this, but we're not going to be making the exact game. That way we can modify it to our own specifications and improve these 3-star ratings, as you can tell. So for starters, what we need to do is we need to analyze what this game is about and of course how we can improve it. So we're going to be taking a look at some of the images right here. So as you can see, it seems to be a coin collecting game. It seems to check the distance that you run. Of course, it checks how many coins you get. It looks like there's obstacles that you go over and under. And of course, it seems like there's different types of environments and levels. So that seems pretty awesome. Now, whenever we start developing a game, we want to take notes on our inspiration. So what I like doing is I like pulling up Notepad, just because Notepad is completely awesome. And what we're going to do is we're just going to make some notes. So we have at the top, what is the game about? Right. What is it about? So this game's obviously about coin collecting, obstacle dodging, and to measure the distance of your run. And of course, how does the player move? Well, that is a pretty good question. So just by looking at these pictures, we see that the character's moving along with the camera. But if we take a look at this picture right here, it looks like the character's moving further along inside the camera. So what it seems like is that the camera reaches a certain distance and then the player keeps on moving. Now, we could do this right here, but I think that a continuous runner is a whole lot more fun than an objective based where you're supposed to get to a specific level. So what we're going to do is, instead of actually making the camera move along with the character and the character moving forward, we're actually going to keep the character where he is, and we're just going to be adjusting the environment around the character. So it appears like the character's moving, but he's not. So as you can see in Notepad, I put a little note, jump and slide. We're also going to put a note, no moving left or right. Now if you want to add that to your game, you can, but just for this specific purpose of trying not to actually make a clone copy, we're actually going to do it this way. Right. So now, since we know what our game is about, you need to open up Unity. Now I already have Unity opened up and ready to go, mainly because I was just experimenting and all that sort of stuff. But what you're going to need is you're going to need to get a couple folders. So you should have a scene folder if you got Unity 2018 already available inside your Unity game. But if you don't have it, that's okay. So if you have recreated a brand new project, by the way, make sure that you set it to 2D. Mine is set to 3D at the moment, so I actually had to adjust some of my settings. So if this is a brand new product or project that you're working on, make sure that you do change it over to 2D real fast. But anyway, just a little note, because I sort of forgot to mention it when we came over into Unity. But once you have that done, make sure that you create these folders right here. So we have a scene folder, which carries our scenes. We have a script folder, carries our scripts. A texture folder carries our textures, and an animation folder, which carries our animations. Pretty obvious. Okay, so you're going to save your scene inside your scene folder, as I've done. I called it sample scene. And once you have that done, you're going to get a texture for your game object. Now my texture came from Google, so it might have some copyright stuff, which means I can't sell this game. But if you have your own textures that you have designed, that you have built, you can import those into Unity and be able to sell them all you want. But I'm going to go ahead and explain how to change these textures into actual texture sheets. So to begin with, make sure that you grab your imported texture, and you're going to come over here to texture type, change it to Sprite 2D and UI. Now, keep in mind this does need to be a PNG file, and it does need to have an alpha transparent background. If it doesn't have an alpha transparent background, you can have a lot of issues, just as a note. Okay, so anyway, we need to check our sprite mode on our on our texture, and we need to make sure that it is at multiple instead of single. Because if it's single, that means that it's only going to be taking the entire image as one. If it's multiple, it will take multiple images inside of it. Now, before we can edit it, you're going to need to hit apply. Once that's done, you're going to go over to the Sprite Editor, and I'll pull up a window similar to this right here. Now, to cut this, you could do it the old-fashioned way by clicking and dragging, just like so, and then you could adjust it to wherever you want it to be. But that just takes too much time, and it's just so much harder. So to do this, you're simply going to head over here to where it says slice on the left side of your screen, and you're going to find type. You could choose whatever you want. Since this is not really a grid-shaped environment, we're going to set it to automatic. We're going to go ahead and set this to delete existing and center as pivot. And then we're going to hit slice. Once that's done, you're going to see all these different squares pop up around your characters. And if there are too many that are just sitting right next to each other and all, and you need to delete some, it's very simple. Simply select it and then delete. Like say for instance where I had all these words, it would have a sprite, and I just simply deleted it just like so. You could also name these sprites as well. So if you select your sprite, you could call it like fidle1. You could edit it by adjusting it and so on. Alright, so once you're done with that, you're going to hit apply and then close this out. So apply, perfect. So after it's been applied, you can actually open these textures by selecting this little arrow, and there's all your textures. Super cool. So now since we have all our textures, we're going to simply create the textures inside an animation. And that'll be the end of this tutorial once we do that. And then inside the next tutorial, we'll actually get into the animator controller and the script. Okay, so to create the animation, go over to your animation folder, which you should have created earlier. And you're going to create a new folder by right-clicking, create folder, and you're going to call it player. Inside player, you need to make sure that you select it so it's open inside your project panel. Then you're going to select your player. So if you don't have a player inside your scene, that's okay. Go back over to your textures and then simply drag this onto the scene. And there you go. You now have your player. So go back over to your animation tab with your player folder open. Select your player game object inside your scene. And we're going to create this animation for it. So to do that, now select your animation tab or panel. And if you don't have that, simply select this arrow, go over to add tab, animation, and so on. Once that's done, you're going to create. If it doesn't pop up if it looks like this right here, that's okay. Simply press create, and then it will save that created file in your open folder. And that's why I said go back over here and select the player folder inside your animation tab or panel. Because if you don't, then it will save it wherever your last open panel was. So, you know, that. Just not really a fun thing to do. Anyway, before I got sidetracked, what we want to do to edit the actual animations on our character is we want to first drag our project panel over to somewhere else. We can grab our textures, open it up. And since we already have these this save to a specific folder, it'll save all the ones we create after that to that same folder. So whenever you go over here and select that and then press create clip, it will add it to the same folder. So for our walk animation, that's the first animation we're going to be covering, because we're not going to be idle at all, since our character is going to be in a continuous running motion. We're going to find our walk animation. So we're going to roll down inside a project panel. We're going to find walk and simply click, drag, drop. And as you can see, it just added that into the scene. So now we can put that there, just like so, and it works. And that's really all you have to do to create your animation. So to create another animation, say for instance slide, we simply need to grab our slide, drag and drop, and boom, just like so. Of course, with our slide, we only need one animation, so we're going to keep it as such. And of course, same thing with jump. Alright, so the last part on this tutorial, let's go ahead and fix that real fast. The last part of this tutorial that we are going to be covering is just making sure that we have everything on our player that we're going to need for our next tutorial. That way we don't have to cover that in that tutorial. So what you're going to need to do is make sure that you do have your animator on your game object with the controller that is set, so our player controller. If you don't have your player controller, head over to where your animations are stored and drag that on there. Next, you're going to need to make sure that you have a capsule collider 2D. And lastly, you're going to need to make sure that you have a rigid body 2D. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, make sure that you like it, subscribe, check out some other videos, and of course, be aware that we will be coming up with our next tutorial pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure to hit that bell for that notification. And of course, if you have any questions, make sure that you leave those comments inside the comment section below. If you have anything that you think we could improve on, make sure to leave those in the comment section below. And of course, I'll be happy to get back to you on those. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.